three factors, we cannot have consciousness. Let's say I'm a conscious living entity, but my consciousness is not directed towards any object. Then what am I going to be conscious of? Or let's say there is myself, the subject, and there's some object that I could be conscious of, but we don't have a relationship. So then I can't be conscious either. Or let's say there's a relationship and there's an object, but there's no subject. Well, then there's no consciousness there either. All three of these things are required for consciousness. So if we go into the Brahman and we merge into oneness, and there's no longer duality or differences between me and anything else, I can't be conscious. The conditions, the ground necessary for consciousness cannot exist in those conditions. That means I lose consciousness. I become unconscious, even though I am merging into the supreme consciousness. If the supreme consciousness exists, but I don't exist anymore because I'm not any different from it, then I can't be conscious, you see? And I can't be superconscious either because there's no I anymore. There's no self anymore. One loses one's individuality. Now, this mukti is the equivalent of spiritual suicide. It means that one ceases to exist. One ceases to be conscious. And if we are unconscious, even if we still exist, we don't know it, so what difference does it make? I mean, yes, you can say that, yeah, we got beyond suffering. Yeah, well, we got beyond everything in the process. Threw the baby out with the bathwater, huh? So this mukti, this is not very desirable. In fact, it's very undesirable, just in the same way that ordinary suicide is undesirable. The spiritual suicide is even more undesirable because it's eternal. It's permanent. If someone commits suicide, yes, it's very sinful and they go to some hellish destination in the next life. But after being punished for their sinful activities, then they at least come back again into the human form of life. But this mukti is permanent. You don't come back from mukti. That's it, forever. Bye. So we do not consider mukti an acceptable spiritual destination. Now the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, they think this is great. Oh yeah, mukti, I'm going to merge into oneness of everything and disappear. You see, well, this is the same kind of thinking that drives people who commit suicide. I'm just going to end it all. It'll be over. No more suffering. Suffering is so bad, I can't stand it anymore. So I'll just stop it. It doesn't matter if I destroy myself in the process. At least I stop the pain. But it doesn't really stop the pain. That's the thing. See? And mukti is just, I mean, it's 1,000 times worse than ordinary suicide. Because it can't be undone. It's the end, permanent, period, finished, eternally. So be very careful of mukti. Mukti is a very poisonous thing, and the people who preach mukti are also against the conclusions of the Vedas. The Vedas don't recommend mukti at all, unless we accept one of the other kinds of mukti, which allows us to continue our devotional service to the Lord. They are going to the spiritual world, living in the spiritual planets, accepting the same kind of a spiritual body as the Lord, accepting the same spiritual opulences as the Lord, and living in a place where the Lord has his eternal form and pastimes. But these four kinds of mukti are acceptable provided that our situation allows us to continue our devotional service afterwards. Yeah, please move over so I can see the fire. I like to look at the fire. It's pleasant. So these four kinds of mukti, which permit the continuation of our devotional service, are acceptable, provided that we are engaged in devotional service and not just trying to enjoy. And of course, once again, as always, the difference is in the intention. If I want mukti, if I want liberation from the material world so that I can go and be with Krishna all the time, then that's very nice. If I want liberation from the material world for my sense gratification, for my enjoyment, that's not very nice. That's childlike. Because devotional service or giving love to Krishna especially is far better than getting love for ourselves. See, giving pleasure is far higher than getting pleasure. If we give pleasure, that means that we are aware or have realized our position as spirit soul, that we're eternal, that nothing can hurt us, nothing can kill us. You see? So we should desire this position of giving. Great personalities are known for their charitable nature and their giving. It's said that in the palace of the Pandavas, at the time, especially at the time of the coronation of King Yudhishthira as the emperor of the world, and during the Rajasuya sacrifice and like that, that the only words heard in their palace was give, eat, and enjoy. They had so many guests, and they were simply serving their guests and giving and giving and giving from their seemingly unlimited treasury. You see? So this is a great personality. You look at any great personality, or even a rich person, you know, who has lots of money, what are they doing? They form some charitable trust, and then they're giving to other people who are less fortunate. So similarly, when someone has knowledge or self-realization, one of the symptoms of that is that they simply give. They share it with others. They encourage others to reach the same platform, to reach the same realizations that they have. This is a symptom of those who have attained self-realization. And a person who really loves God simply wants to give pleasure to God. He doesn't seek pleasure for himself because he can easily have pleasure simply by contemplating his own spiritual nature. That's enough pleasure. Who needs any more pleasure than that? You have to know how profound this pleasure is. And then you realize that anything else is simply icing on the cake. But the fact is that Krishna reciprocates our devotional service by giving even more pleasure. And there is this constant competition between Krishna and the devotee. That the devotee wants to give Krishna more and more pleasure. And Krishna tries to give the devotee more and more pleasure. And sometimes when Krishna wins, the devotee becomes so ecstatic that he can't continue his devotional service anymore. And then he's like, Krishna beat me again. I'm going to get him. I'm going to give him so much pleasure, he won't be able to do anything. Ha ha ha. See, this is the devotee. The devotee and Krishna have an eternal competition to see who can give the other one more pleasure, more ecstasy, more love. It's completely different from this material world. In this material world, people have competition to see who can get more. In the spiritual world, they have competition to see who can give more. That's the difference, you see. So we shouldn't try to get stuff for ourselves. We shouldn't need or try to get all these different desires, material and spiritual desires. These things are traps. And they're all traps, even the spiritual desires like mukti, because we're trying to get something for ourselves. That is material consciousness. When we're in spiritual consciousness, we know we're eternal. We know we're full of energy. We know we can't be killed. Nothing can hurt us. So we just give. And guess what? Then Krishna gives back in such abundance that we can't even receive it. Who is saying when Krishna he takes with one hand. But when he gives with 10 hands. Who is saying that? I forget. Anyway, he gives so much that we can't even receive it. We don't have enough hands. Huh? I feel like that every time I look at our website stats. They're going zoom, right up through the roof. Exponential increase. So that's the result of our giving. You see? When you give, everybody wants to accept nice gifts. And the best thing that you can give is transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge is eternal. It never wears out. The more you share it, the more it